right, guys. Welcome to episode 3 of the Skunk Ape podcast. I'm Chad.
I'm Gavin. My boy Nick from Living Attractions coming on, and we're going to be talking croc monitors and going in depth on how to breed them and socialize them.
Yeah, hopefully I can learn a few things. Because it would be great to have some croc monitors coming through here.
Oh yeah,
we got that male. We got that male and female, and I'm excited to hear some stuff and learn some stuff from Nick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, knowledge is power in this game. So
exactly.
the more little things we can learn, the better. That's what we're here for, learning,
exactly.
Right? So the best thing we can do is we can learn with you guys, and hopefully through our podcast we can teach you guys a thing or two.
Yeah, hopefully you guys come out of this podcast with learning something that you didn't know about croc monitors. That's the main goal for this episode and our future episodes. Learn something new.
Yeah, definitely a neat species. Definitely looking forward to talking more with Nick about them.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we'll expand our knowledge a little bit more, get Gavin to want a real Filipino species of monitor.
I would definitely get a croc monitor if I had the opportunity, but I would rather have a blue tail. I'll keep it at that. I'd rather have a blue tail.
You know, I mean, you do you, but I mean, go big or go home, right? That's what the saying always is: go big or go home.
I know y'all are gonna be giving me shit about this tonight.
No, never. We just pride ourselves in larger monitors, but then again, I'm a dwarf monitor guy, so what can I say? I like the smaller things, but I also have a 4-year-old son, so 4-year-old with dwarf monitors is a little bit easier than having some of these big ones.
Exactly.
I just, like we've talked about in the first podcast, is I get the privilege to work with some of these larger species of monitors, and my son gets to enjoy it with me. So, I mean,
yep. Living
can't go wrong there.
Exactly.
I got lucky. It just goes to show you where this community can really lead. You open up the doors to a lot of different opportunities.
Yep. Speaking of community, we did get the celibensis thing wrong on the last episode, if you want to go over that.
Yeah, I feel bad. Wes, I apologize. So Wes with Sunshine Sulfurs, he's a buddy of mine. I'm sure he's going to be listening when this thing goes live. He listens to every podcast.
Shout out.
And he messaged me right after the podcast came out, and he goes, "Hey, those celibensis are mine. They're not yours." I was like, I know they're not mine. I thought they were Chris's because you guys trade stuff all the time. He goes, "No, I'm just busy with school right now, so I just let you guys take care of them, or let Chris take care of them." And he was actually, and this is lack of knowledge on my part, is he was actually the first person in the U.S. to captive breed celibensis.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So, I mean, I didn't know that either. I was always under the impression that Rob Fox did, and Rob did get some celibensis from Chris as well when Chris imported them. But no, Rob was about 4 months behind Wes and getting the celibensis, and come to find out that Rob actually has some of Wes's celibensis.
Oh, wow.
So shout out to Wes. He produces some of the best sulfur monitors that I've ever seen.
Stunning, man.
I mean, we have 3 of them here. They're gorgeous. They're fun. I mean, they're great. They're a great reptile to keep. I can't say enough good things about the sulfurs that we have. He's doing some coral albinos, some T-nags, T-positives. He's doing some great things down there at Sunshine Sulfurs.
Where is he? Is he down here in Florida with us? With me?
What was that?
Is he in Florida?
Yeah, he's down in Florida.
What area?
He's down in the Panhandle.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to convert him to coming to Alabama, but he is down in Florida for right now. Hopefully, once he's done with school, we can convince him to move up here, and you'll see some crazy stuff coming out of Sunshine Sulfurs and CM Exotics, and hopefully Skunk Ape Exotics as well, which is me. But we'll see. I kind of work in all that stuff with them, so we'll see what happens.
Hey,
but
with time, you're going to start producing just as much cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wes, I just want to say, I know you're going to be listening. I apologize for getting that wrong. You know you're my boy, and I'll make sure I get my information correct before I start throwing stuff out on the internet again. Um, but nothing against Rob. Rob produces some great animals.
Mm-hmm.
Rob's got, I mean, his Niles, and I'll be the first to admit. Last week I said $400 for Niles. I was way off. I was talking to him. They're $1,000, and with everything that he's put into them, they're worth every penny. They're probably some of the best looking Niles I've ever seen.
Yeah, I
And the
heard him
fact that
say that they're
so you don't.
super calm.
Yeah, he said they're great, and it's awesome. So Rob, I want to say I'm sorry for throwing or lowballing your number on the Niles, but I'm wrong. I'm wrong. What can I say? And my wife is going to probably pop in the room here in a second and say, "Did you say you're wrong?" I'm like, I'm allowed to be wrong every once in a while. So uh, don't hold me to everything. I can be wrong. You can tell me I'm wrong. It's okay.
But yeah, with that, with all the announcements, we're gonna go ahead and bring Nick on, and we'll see y'all more with Nick.
All right, guys.
See ya,
Enjoy the episode.
man.
What's up?
Dude,
I'm
thank
good.
you for coming on and being our first guest, dude.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure,
Yeah,
I'm honored.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of one of those. Hey, who are we gonna have for our first guest? And I mean, what better way to start it out than with croc monitors? You know, I mean, go big, go home. I mean, I think we talked about that in the. We were BSing about that when we're trying to convert Gavin to get some real monitors.
Yeah, it's
Oh man, you have the Dorianis though, right?
not anymore. I just have Indicus right now. I
Indicus
had a
are
pair
cool.
of blue tails, but they ended up passing away. Just parasite issues. My
Oh,
female
sorry.
had like 5 eggs inside of her when I got the autopsy done. But she was also like riddled
Oh,
with cancer and like had gone through like 2 homes before me. So like I think the cancer and the stress and then the developing
oh.
eggs just like screwed it
And
up.
after all that, they probably wouldn't have passed anyway. All the
Mm,
Yeah,
stress from
yeah,
stuff.
it
that's
sucks,
actually how
but
we lost.
eventually I'll get back into them. Them and the
That's how
tricolors.
that's how we lost one of our female croc monitors. She had cancer all throughout her tumors and everything built up.
It's crazy. I hear that a lot about captive monitors.
Yeah,
It makes you wonder like
Well,
what it could be.
so what I've heard is like reptiles, like they don't really die of old age. Like when they get old, they just get like hella cancer and die. So it's like almost
Wow.
like just like as they get older, they just start developing cancer. I don't know
yeah.
how true
Well,
that
this
is.
one,
That's just been what I've been told.
well, this one, she was fairly small. Chris had her for about 3 or 4 years,
Oh wow.
and she had big tumors all over her at one point, and then they just went away. And that's actually the one that's in my TikTok, that croc monitor in my TikTok.
Hmm.
She ended up passing like 2 days after that video.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
That sucks.
and yeah, it was definitely a sad thing. I mean, she was pretty. I mean, she was great looking, but yeah, I mean it. You know, Chris said this thing about sometimes animals just die and we don't know the reason for it,
Hmm.
and I think
Especially
that's
when
very
dealing with
much it.
wild caught shit, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You'll never know half the time. Even if you get an autopsy done, the doctors will be like, I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I
No,
mean
no.
that's yeah, it's just crazy. So I mean it happens.
Hmm.
So we've all dealt with it, but Nick, tell us about your croc monitors, man. Why croc monitors?
So I started with the Argus monitors, and then I went to Indicus,
Oh, so
water
you've
monitor.
kept Indicus? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had the only Indicus I've ever kept were Sarong locality.
Okay, those are
Uh,
nice.
yeah, the nice silvers
Yeah.
and oleae white throats. Kind of went through all the species, and then it got to the point where I was like, no, I need to focus on one,
Hmm.
breed one, and I ended up getting a female croc monitor, taking it from there.
So where did like is it wild caught? Like who did you get it from, and what made you
Yeah,
choose like croc monitors over everything else that you've worked with? Because like I mean, those are some pretty sweet species you've worked with as well.
yeah, no, for sure. And it feels like a punch in the gut getting rid of a lot of them.
Hmm.
I still regret it, but the croc monitors just, the danger aspect, but mostly the intelligence.
Yeah.
Know how smart, hyper intelligent they are. That's really what I wanted. And so Josh,
Hmm.
my boss at the shop, he told me he was bringing some in. So I saved up a little bit, and then I got juvenile female off the
That's sweet.
shipment like a week after we brought them in.
So
Mm.
when did you start working with Josh, and how did that get started?
So I'm actually from New York. A lot
Okay.
of people don't know that.
Yeah, let's
And I
back
moved
up and
down
just like take it from the beginning. Like, where did you start? What got you into all this?
being a little kid watching Jurassic Park and Steve Irwin. Man, that
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah,
that sounds like the typical answer. I think that
like
you
most of
gave.
us, right?
Yeah, like Gavin gave. I mean, I was a kid going to the theater with my dad seeing Jurassic Park, and I mean,
Yeah,
it just snowballed from there, and it's just Jurassic Park and Steve Irwin combined. I mean, it's just a. I mean,
That
I
probably got
think
like
Jeff
90% of the keepers into the hobby.
yeah, and I think Jeff
yeah.
Corwin was the trifecta of everything there
Jeff
too.
Corwin
Yeah,
too. Yeah, sure. You watch all that stuff. How can you not fall in love with lizards? Right.
exactly.
Yeah,
So I
I'm,
grew up in like the middle of nowhere, upstate New York. No pet shops around, other than a PetSmart that was like 40 minutes away.
Mm.
And so that PetSmart just happened to have like a little plated lizard. And on my 6th birthday, my parents got it for me, and then it all snowballed from there.
Oh, that's sweet. Plated lizards are
wow.
cool. They're a super
So now
underrated species.
I'm gonna veer a little off topic because I do that sometimes. But I'm my grandfather's from upstate New York, so I go to upstate New York quite often.
Hmm?
We're at in upstate New York because people don't understand that there's more to New York than just the city.
Oh yeah, mountains are beautiful, man.
Yeah.
The place
I didn't
called
know that.
Washington in Orange County.
Oh, okay, so you're not that far upstate, but you're upstate.
No, yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
right. I'm about an hour and a half west of New York City, but
Yeah.
like upstate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
My grandfather grew up in a actually the same town that John Jones is from.
Don't know where
What
that
town
is.
is that?
Uh, Endicott, Binghamton area.
Yes, yeah, I know
Yeah.
Binghamton. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
way upstate.
Yeah, that's way upstate. So when
Yeah.
people say upstate, it's like I know upstate like upstate New York, the Finger Lakes region, and all that stuff, where there's like no reptiles whatsoever because it's cold all the time.
Yeah, you might find garter snakes for like 2 months out of the year. That's about it,
Maybe if you're lucky. Yeah.
maybe. But yeah, so when I turned 18, moved down to Florida for college, and then I got a job at this one reptile spot that didn't last very long. And then every week I'd be going to Cold Blooded Kingdom. That was the storefront shop
Mhm.
Josh had before Cold Blooded Shop. Every week I was in there begging for a job,
Dude,
talking to Josh.
that's how I got hired
like,
at the reptile store I was in. Just every single day, just like basically doing work for free.
Yeah, pretty much just like trying to say whatever knowledge I know about the monitors to try to impress him or whatever. And then finally one day he told me, "Hey, I just got a breeding facility down the road. Like you could start working at the shop in there, and then we'll transfer you over to there, full
That's
time
sweet.
eventually."
So you work at
Yeah.
the breeding facility, not the shop anymore. So that he doesn't
I
have
worked
the
at
shop
the shop.
anymore, or how? What is
No,
going on
he
with
sold-
that?
He sold the shop about 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay.
I only worked at the shop for about a year, and then now I've been only at the breeding facility for a year.
So what all?
Now
What can you
where's
say
that
that you're
look-
working with?
Huh?
I was gonna say, like, what are you working with over there that you're allowed to talk about? I don't know how secret projects y'all have over there.
Just tons of monitors, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's really all I work with there. And then there's a guy that does all the snakes. But tons of tree monitors, more tree monitors than you would even think are in the country.
Do y'all
Now,
have
where-
every species?
Of tree monitors?
Yeah, of tree monitor.
Not Keith or I, man.
Oh yeah, I don't. Are they even? They're not in the States, are they?
No, unfortunately not.
Eventually,
No.
eventually they'll come in.
Now
We
now
go,
for the people that don't know, i.e. me, and I'm sure other people, Cold Blooded Shop. Where is that? Where in Florida is that?
Deerfield Beach.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so South Florida.
Oh, so you're South Florida.
Yeah, it's like right on the cusp of Palm Beach County and Broward County, like way upper Broward County.
Gotcha. All right.
Just waiting for a mate.
Yeah. So what is like the main? So just tree monitors would be the main thing you're focusing on over there, like in the Full-blooded?
In terms of breeding in the next few months, yeah,
Okay.
because we've been getting all the enclosures in the tree monitor room, getting that all built up first, and then we're going to go build the final enclosures in the other rooms.
That's sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now tree monitors themselves, they're super delicate. When it comes to monitors, they're probably the most delicate of all the monitors because you have to have their humidity on point all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably arguably the hardest monitor to keep. I mean, I know there's smaller monitor species, but at the same time, they're probably the most difficult to keep. They're almost million level keeping.
Yeah, it's literally like a chameleon monitor kind of thing. You
Yeah.
need the right balance between humidity, airflow, heat, with still having cool spots. It's like everything's about microclimates with them.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully, we have all the enclosures dialed in to where they're getting everything they need and they're thriving in there.
Now,
Thankfully,
you guys have full misting systems on those too. I mean,
as of right now, hand misting every single day on all of these animals. Yeah.
Hey, hand
Very
misting's the way to do it, I think. You get to work with the animals more.
With my giant croc enclosure, I still hand mist it to this day, every single day, twice a day.
Yeah. When did you build that?
Built that last summer. It took me, I want to say, a solid month to do it. Just me all alone. I had to lift that 2x4 up and screw it at the same time. The whole thing.
now how big is that enclosure that you have them in?
12 feet by 4 feet deep by 8 feet, and it even kills me keeping her in there. I want her to have like double the height, 3 times the floor space minimum.
Would you do outdoor? I'll let you try. You can go.
So we have ours in side by side cages. We're working right now on doing a pass through system on so that way we can allow the male in with the female. But they're in 10 by 8 by 10s.
Yeah, that's a lot more optimal.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, our enclosure we got to redo them because we kind of have moved things around here, there, and everywhere. And I mean, we got a big reptile. We got a big facility out in the back of our property. It's a big building. We have all walk-in enclosures in the center, and then a smaller enclosure on the outside, some crocodile ponds and whatnot. But the goal is the croc monitors are actually going to go to Chris, the guy that I work with. He is creating a wildlife sanctuary, and in the wildlife sanctuary, we're redoing a reptile building, and they're going to have a 19-foot tall enclosure.
Wow, it's going to be insane.
Yeah, it's going to be insane.
It's going to be like Reptilandia's.
We're talking like live pine trees, full-on bioactive. Potentially, if we'll see how it works, because I noticed on your Instagram you keep geckos in some of your monitor enclosures as well, which is super cool. But that's kind of the idea that we're going to do. We're going to do a 19-foot tall enclosure for the croc monitors, and then it's going to be about 12 feet wide and like I think he said like 18 or 20 feet long.
Whew. That's perfect.
You have to go see that.
Dude, I'm not looking forward to building it, but it's going to be fun. We got a lot of water. We got a lot of water features to put in it, and right now we really need to revamp the cages just so they have more climbing spots. The female we have is super reclusive. She's actually a lot more bold when the male's in with her, which I thought was really interesting that she would come out more when the male's in there. But most of the time, I sent Gavin a picture yesterday. She just kind of hides under this this platform that's right against the ground, and she spends most of the time on the ground, which is shocking for an arboreal. I mean, for lack of a better term, a tree monitor that's just really big.
The thing I've noticed about this Salvadora is that every single one is such an individual. Because I've had 2 females at the same time in here, and one was always hanging out up here or up here. And the other one was always on the floor or at the middle set of branches.
How did you get yours so social? What was that process like?
Yeah, how many times were you bitten in order to get them as social as they are? Because, I mean, Croc monitors are probably. I was talking to Gavin the other day. Is Croc monitors are probably my favorite monitor there is, but that level of it can really do. They can really do damage. I mean, they really can do a lot of damage. So, I mean,
I
how,
saw the finger bite.
yeah. I mean,
That's the one bite I've ever taken from a croc monitor.
That was
besides
it?
a baby. That was it. I never got bit socializing, just hand feeding in that video. That was the one bite ever from a croc.
Did you need stitches or anything? Because that looked like a pretty good bite, dude.
My girlfriend, when I got the croc monitor in the beginning, she got a suture kit, a practice kit, and she learned how to do stitches. She was piece of anything.
Smart.
I swore to her she wouldn't have to use it. Next thing we know, we're on the kitchen table. She's stitching my finger back together.
How long did it take you to get your croc monitor to like how tame it is now?
It was really. It took 3 months for me to be able to open the enclosure and her come up to me.
Oh wow,
Still to
that's
this
pretty
day-
fast.
Yeah, but she was living in my college dorm room with me. Set up a giant. Yeah, so all day between classes, all day and all night, I was there with her. I would sit in the enclosure, do homework in there. I'd let her walk around the room once in a while, and so I was always around her.
Mhm.
That was kind of how I did it with her, but still to this day, she's very selective as to when I could pet her.
Okay.
She'll have her days where, she'll love me from a distance, and then she'll have days where she hangs out with me on my bed.
That's so cool.
So
Wow.
she's-
That's sweet.
Yeah.
that is pretty impressive. I know that our big male, when we had him, when I first started working with Chris could get him to tongue feed like nothing, and it was easy, and he would never tongue feed from me. And then now, after spending time with him and whatnot, he's finally, I mean, after 8 months, he's finally decided, hey, I'm gonna eat from you. You're all right. You give me fresh water every day, so I'll be nicer to you. But it was still probably the scariest thing I've ever done was being there trying to change out his light fixtures because we have the hanging lights and stuff. Just to give
You
those
have to go up there into his territory for it.
Yeah, I had to go into his territory and cut wires and rewire things, all while Chris is like, I got this shield. I'll shield you with this plastic tote lid. I'm like,
Oh man.
yeah, I'm like, and so typically it wouldn't take me all that long, but I mean, it took me 20 minutes to change out 2 light fixtures, and I was like, I'm sitting there shaking. I'm like, like, and
Putting
like,
all your trust, you're putting all your trust in Chris to have your back if that thing comes at you.
and Chris even said, hey, if he's gonna bite you, I'll take the bite. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, I love Chris to death, but you know what? There's still that thought in the back of my head. He's gonna bypass you so quick, and he's gonna bite my leg, and it's just gonna be terrible. But let me preface this: this is the same croc monitor that when it was imported, he broke out of the cage in the jet and was loose.
Busted out of the crate.
Yeah, he busted out of the crate in the jet.
That's insane.
Roaming around the jet,
Dude.
and they had to. I don't know if Chris was the one or the importer, whoever, but somebody had to get called to get the croc monitor off the jet.
That's insane.
Yeah, and that's that one. That's actually that one I sent you. That's the mail that I sent you. Nick.
Oh wow.
The picture
Nice,
of.
pretty clean spot, man.
Oh, dude, he's
Gorgeous.
absolutely gorgeous. But the funny thing is too with him is I'll mist him down. Like I have a big pump sprayer, mist him down, and he's like, "I'm angry with you. I'm really angry with you, but this feels good." And you can tell what he's like. You can honestly tell what he's thinking, and that level of intelligence. I mean, even
They're crazy smart, like way smarter than any other monitor I've worked with. Like I've never worked with them or anything, but when I went to Guanaland a couple weeks ago, I saw the one they had there, and just watching it interact with the people inside the cage with it, I was like, yeah, that's just next level intelligence right there.
It's looking into their eyes, man.
You
see
can
all in the-
literally read their eyes. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, and I walked in there this morning at like 6:30 this morning, and I always have this weird fear of something being dead. Like, just don't be dead. Like, I just go do my morning walkthrough, and I'm like, just don't be dead. Oh, you're alive. don't be dead. And I go around all of them, and I'm like, don't be dead. And the croc monitor, I was like, typically with him, I can make a noise, and he'll open his eyes, he'll move or something like that, and he just didn't. I'm like, oh my god, don't be dead. And I open up the cage real quick, and I'm like, I'm not gonna. Should I touch him? Should I not touch him? And as soon as I opened up the door, his eyes opened up. I was like, oh god, you're not dead. Thank you.
So let's get into breeding them. So I know Chris and Chad have tried and haven't been able to have any successful locks, but then I know that you just had a successful lock, right? And hopefully she's gravid.
Yeah. I, with my 2 eyes, witnessed 3 locks with them
That's
in
sweet.
the 2 weeks that the male was here.
Now, is this your male, or is this guy like on a breeding loan, or when did you get this guy?
No, so this is Josh's male.
Oh, okay, sweet. Oh, hell yeah.
That's Cold-Blooded Shop's male, and so Josh, he let me take him here to try to breed my female, and she's 100% gravid right now.
Hell yeah! So
Awesome.
how did you go about introducing them? Like, because I know at least with Indicus, like they will shred each other apart, and I assume it's the same with croc monitors. Like, so how did you go about that?
You'd be surprised. Again, everyone is an individual, but every croc I've ever worked with has been super
Calm.
super cool with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sweet. And they're all
Males with
And you
females
have
with
you
feet.
worked with captive born and breds, or yours that you've all worked with the wild caughts?
I've worked with 90% wild caught, and then I've worked with 2 captive breds.
Okay. So wow, that's
Yeah, so
most people. I've never heard someone say that they've worked with a lot of sweet ones and they're all wild caught.
Yeah. So just as a quick correction there, Gavin, we have actually seen a lock
Oh, okay.
from the male and female. She has laid at least 1 clutch that I know about.
Oh.
But the male got in there and ended up eating all the eggs before we could get in there. So that was a rough one. And this last one, we thought we had a successful lock. She got all fat, checked the lay box, nothing in there. And, I mean, she's slimmed down drastically since then. And it was almost like she was bloated or something. But
how long ago was that?
Oh, that was probably 2 months ago now. Right around the time we got the Celebensis eggs.
Okay.
So
It could have been like a pseudo pregnancy or something.
that's
Her
what
body was reacting as if it was, but
right. But we didn't see a lock then. We didn't see a lock at that point. We saw a lock probably 3 months before that.
Interesting.
And we're like, awesome. We saw a lock, and nothing came of that one either. And that's why we're trying to do the trapdoor system, all that stuff, so we can let the male come in and out.
Yeah.
And but I know we had talked a little bit earlier today about dropping the temperatures and all that stuff. And because we have such a big building, it's hard for us to drop temperatures and all that stuff because the building stays at 85 degrees all year long.
Do you do any light cycling and temperature cycling for them?
I don't do light cycling, just for the pure reason that, there's really no drastic light cycle in Indonesia.
Okay.
And so I keep it to temperature cycling and food cycling.
Okay.
I'll take on a temperature diapause and a food diapause at the same time. For 1.5, 2 months, I'll start feeding her heavy and a higher percentage of rats compared to poultry.
That's
really?
That see them in the fat intake.
So do you
Then
do
you heat
that?
them up.
What time of year are you doing that, or just before, like the month before you introduced them, you started doing that?
Ever since she's been mature, I've done it randomly throughout
Okay.
the year to see if the time of the year matters. Anytime I do that, it works every time.
So
So I
you
don't think
notice
that's-
she starts cycling immediately when you start like doing that.
Yeah,
That's sweet.
every single time.
And so then
So,
once you had
buddy-
her cycling, you just added the male into the cage, or did you just have him like see
This was
through
the
his
first time
glass?
I added the male.
Okay.
This was the first time I added the male with her. Because before it was 2 females living together. Suki would cycle, the other one wouldn't. So I didn't want to mess anything up, but I sold her off. So now I got the male in here. And also spraying them heavy. When
Okay.
you start feeding, you want to, increase the precipitation in there
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, God, to imitate the rainy season, things like that.
Exactly, because with the rain brings more food, and that's when
That makes sense.
breeding is like.
Gotcha.
That's
So now,
interesting.
what do what do you do to drop the temperature in the enclosure?
Switch the bulbs out for weaker ones, and I keep 3 fans and an air purifier running in my room 24/7.
Sweet.
Okay.
So everyone else's lights stay the same so they don't get the cool down. But then inside her enclosure, it gets similar to the ambient in my room, which at that point it's right around 72 to 74.
Okay, yeah, I was just about to ask. So, like, what is your like basking temp like normally, and then like what are you dropping it down to?
Basking temp normally is right around 135,
Sweet.
and then I'll drop it all the way down to like 100.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a big drop.
It's getting drastically colder.
Wow, that's
And
nice.
she still eats, but obviously a lot less.
Mhm.
She still uses the bathroom, everything like that.
And you
Yeah.
haven't noticed? So I've always heard that feeding, a bunch of rodents cause liver disease or fatty liver or whatever that is. You don't notice that because you're also feeding poultry and other stuff throughout the year.
Yeah, normally when she's not in a cycle, I'll give her like, I want to say 60% poultry,
Okay.
40% rodent.
Okay.
And then while she's in the cycle, I'll switch it to like 60% rodent, 40% poultry.
Now, do you do seafood or anything
Never
like
want
that?
to- I've tried her on frog legs, shrimp, tilapia, salmon. I've tried her on all that. She only likes mammals and birds.
Hey, they're
Yeah.
picky
See-
like that.
See, ours, we'll actually get a big pork loin, and we'll slice that up, and we'll feed them that every once in a while. But 90% of their diet is quail, tilapia, maybe chicken gizzards every once in a while.
Mm.
I've been debating because we have so much room out here. Is setting up a group of meat chickens,
Mhm.
and getting those to breed and start feeding off the meat chickens and whatnot, or rabbits potentially as well.
Rabbits would be
Um,
sweet.
That would be really good, actually.
I bet you.
Yeah.
Like you said about the pork, I've noticed like the very fatty meat, but once in a while it's good for them. Captain eats frozen thawed baby pigs.
Really?
Wait,
Yeah.
what's Captain?
Oh, Captain was the giant male I had in Wasuki.
How big of a pig are you feeding? Like, I mean, because we feed. I mean, we'll feed large, full adult Cartoonix quail to ours, and he downs them like nothing. Now, does he break them apart or anything, or how does?
He'll tear it up.
How big is he?
He'll tear
Oh,
it up.
shit.
I want to say he's between 7 and 8 feet.
And
Definitely a little longer than 7.
And he's also just as tame as Suki, or is he like a
No,
little
not-
dicey?
He's dicey with most people, but ever since he spent time with me here, he knows me now.
That's sweet.
Everyone else, they can't really get too
Including
close to him
Josh?
other than Josh and I. No, he'll let Josh pet him.
Okay, hell yeah.
Yeah, just
But-
Josh and I.
Yeah, that's
That's
pretty impressive. I should talk to Chris about that. Getting bigger rabbits and stuff for. I mean, because our big male is every bit 8 feet, if not longer.
And another thing, in the wild, they're taking down. I mean, I'd assume they're taking down large prey items.
God, they
and just
have to
tearing
be.
it. Yeah, I let my guys carcass feed too.
Yeah.
They have a ball, good for the week, and it gives them mental stimulation. They're
Mhm.
getting a ton of organ content and everything. It's great for them.
Yeah, the same at the alligator
what kind
farm
of
when I was at the alligator farm when I was there. We would like the FWC and the police would just bring us roadkill every once in a while, and we would just feed whole deer to the Komodo dragons, and they would go ape shit for them.
Yeah, they rip it up.
Yeah,
just
they
like how
love
they
it.
would-
It's like
So
a
what do
best
you-
enrichment.
So, what are you using for carcass feeding?
Literally anything that is too big for them to swallow whole. So it could be like a colossal rat, a mammoth rat, a baby pig, full whole chicken.
Are you like cutting it open or anything, or just like throwing it in their hole?
Oh, you toss it in there. They do the whole thing
Dude,
themselves.
that's sweet. So do you
But,
just keep the croc monitors, or do you have any other reptiles currently, or is it just the two?
No, I have my crop monitors. I have my little Madura Island albino Veranda Salvatore bivitatis, Tis carinata, black throat monitor, Goody sapphire tarantulas.
Oh yeah.
Indian ornamentals. I keep a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
It's just I focus on crocs mostly.
So when did you? I know you just got the albino water monitor. So what's up with that? You were saying, I remember you made a post saying it's not like a typical T positive or T negative. Like, what is it? Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, so most, and I don't think people will appreciate this morph until it's bred in captivity, but most T positives in the States and in Europe are a mix of different subspecies of Varana salvator.
Okay.
And so they're higher percentage Sumatran, which has the heavier spotting,
Mm-hmm.
way darker animals. So that's why a lot of the T positives are like dark. But this is a Varana salvator bivitatis from Madura Island. It's almost like a Javan.
Yeah, I saw one at
So now,
Iguana Land, like not an albino, but a normal.
yeah, so
They're
naturally
cool.
they have that lighter color
Mm-hmm.
and the thick bands. The T positive version, instead of being like a dark chocolate color, more of like pink, lavender, highlight
Oh,
yellow.
that's sweet.
And when they grow up, yeah, and as they grow, they just get lighter and lighter, and they're a beautiful bubblegum pink when they grow
That's
up.
sweet. So do you plan on
Wow.
pairing that up with a normal, like, to make hets and eventually make pure albino ones?
No, he's not gonna get bred until I can find a female that is exactly like him.
Oh yeah,
Pure Rhode Island, Vitatis, T positive.
that'll be
I'll
sweet.
be patient. So,
Hey,
Uh,
it's about
I
being
was gonna
patient,
say,
man. You don't gotta rush into things. I've always said that.
yeah,
yeah,
just
I
one.
don't because I know West over at Sunshine Sulfurs, he's got a bunch of albinos. I'm not sure exactly what he's got albino Salvatore wise, but I know he's got some coral albinos, some T positives, some
Hmm.
T negs. He was telling me today that he's got some corals that hopefully will be breeding in the next couple months.
That's
So
sweet.
yeah,
Yeah, corals. That's the T neg T positive combo. I
yeah.
believe. Yeah, those are Sumatran bloodlines. So Varanus salvator macromaculatus.
Okay,
Yeah.
hell yeah. So
Those
Hey,
are
do
my,
you know anything about? I've always wanted to get and learn about the locales of all the different croc monitors. Do you know anything about those? Like the different like the surname or whatever. Not the surnames. What am I talking about? That's a boa. But I know
nice
there's a bunch of
sarong,
different ones, the
black
sarongs and all
pearls. Yeah.
those.
Yep.
So like which is do you know what locales yours are?
Yeah, my female, she's a Jayapura,
Okay.
and then the male is a sarong.
So how do you tell the difference? And like what are the most common ones you see? Are those usually the sarongs or
The big two are the sarongs and the marukes,
okay.
and then the third would be the Jayapuras. The
Okay.
sarongs that everyone wants. Those are the ones like your male.
yeah.
Is a sarong. Those nice big clean spots, heavy blacks on the face and neck, and then
Mhm.
the white spots on the snout.
Okay.
Jaipur smaller spotting, most of the time broken spotting along the back,
Okay.
and they still have yellow pixelation on their face, and it's also a higher level, a higher amount of blue behind the eyes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Oh wow.
These are
Okay.
the ones with the solid yellow face.
Yeah, I love those
They have,
ones.
yeah, and they have the cheetah print down their back.
Hmm. So
Very
is that
strong
like
spots.
the only three like locales there really is, or is there like a couple other ones out there?
I've heard of Batanta Island croc monitors. I know there's a ton of them out there,
Hmm.
but those are the three big that get caught and imported.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
So do they like is there any like obviously crossing the locales, does that help with the pattern? Like does it make the pattern crazier or anything like that? Or how does that work? I guess there's not enough people breeding croc monitors to really answer
Yeah,
the
I'd
question.
be
I
lying
mean,
to you if I had an answer because
because
not enough people have really bred them to
Yeah.
find out.
what there's in the states, how many people are actively have actually bred croc monitors? Three, maybe.
I know four that I know of.
Does that include you?
I haven't hatched babies yet. I can't count myself in the list yet. But currently, I think there are three people actively breeding
Yeah.
croc monitors.
How long
One of
is the
them's one of
incubation?
them's Crutchfield, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No.
no.
I thought Crutchfield was still
He's got
breeding them.
to my knowledge, he's never bred them. He's gotten two parthenogenesis eggs.
Oh, that's what it is.
He's never actually bred them.
Hmm.
Oh wow. Well, see, this is
So
this is more of what we messed up last week, and we're learning more.
So how
always
long is the
learning, man.
incubation period with the eggs and like how long until she lays the eggs and then how what temperatures are you planning on using and all that?
He just went off food 3 days ago.
Oh
She's
wow.
refusing. So I'm hoping within the next week or two I get the clutch.
That'd be sweet.
And then I'm gonna plan on cooking those eggs at 84 degrees. See how that works
Sweet.
out. And I'm aiming for like an 8-month incubation period.
So
And
about
Say
can they
what?
be temp sexed? Like hotter
210.
equals males and cooler equals females, or
Again,
don't know?
not enough data to
Yeah.
base it off. Not yet, at least.
Yeah, because we typically incubate everything else, everything that we have at 85 degrees. I mean, not that. I mean, a degree does matter, but
Yeah.
but I mean, we have our incubator set at 85 degrees, and I mean, we're doing. Obviously, we have very different monitor species. I mean, we have lace eggs in there. We have the Celebensis eggs in there now. Hopefully, in the next couple days, we'll have some more Celebensis eggs. And hopefully we'll have some more lace eggs in the next few days because she's definitely gravid and you can see the eggs in her side. But I'd love to have the crop monitors do something. But I mean, we just put them in simp containers for 200 to 230 is typically that magic number that we've seen on those. Obviously, every monitor, every species is a little bit different, but it seems like larger monitors typically go for that 200 to 230 days.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Do you
One
use,
thing about the crop bars that I will tell you though is that I've noticed time and time again they don't like it as hot as you think.
really?
They really don't. Yeah. And
Interesting.
they always need that area where they could cool down to like 75 degrees, 72, 75 degrees, and they'll
Yeah.
hang out there for the majority of the day.
So have you
I
thought
wonder if
about
that-
lowering your basking temp because of that then? Like maybe keeping the basking temp cooler, or
No, because she always goes up there to bask,
okay?
and then
And
she'll
then she
go
cools
back down,
down.
and she'll stay up there for like an hour or two. I've messed around with the hotter basking temps, cooler basking temps. Right now, I think pretty sure I'm at the sweet spot from what I've observed.
That's sweet.
Well, and like you were saying with like the tree monitors too is, I mean, really with any species of anything, they love those microclimates.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
100%.
so to be able to get up, even with the Indicus complex, I've heard Kai talk about it. You know, everybody talks about, oh, you want 180 degrees for any monitor to bask. Well, you're going to cook a Borealis or a mangrove at 180 degrees. I mean,
Yeah.
I
My
think
guys
we
have like 120 as their hotspot.
yeah, I think we on the croc monitor enclosures. Last time I checked it, it was like at 135 is what their basking temperature is, and they love it. Now, granted, their new enclosure is going to be insane, so I don't even want to think about the lighting in that. But
Well, are you gonna build their enclosure? I guess you're in Alabama, so it's different. But are you gonna do yours outdoors?
No,
wow.
absolutely not. I mean, we had a day this year where it got down to 8 degrees for. I mean, it got to 8 degrees for 20 plus hours.
Yeah, screw that.
So
What
I
about
mean,
you, Nick? Would
there's
you
not
do
really.
outdoor enclosures?
Me personally, no. Even in South Florida, I'd prefer to keep everything inside where you could really regulate everything.
Yeah, you like to have the control and all that.
Well, that and what I've found with our enclosures that we have here, because we have the wire mesh up in the top, and we also have the wire mesh on the doors, just for that flow because it is so warm and to just kind of get some flow from everything else. Like that whole saying in Jurassic Park where they'll test things. These monitors will test that wire. And like the other day, we have that crazy Xanthic, and he's big and he's crazy. But I walked in the building and heard some scuffling, and I was like, "What's going on?" And I see the Xanthic, and my son's with me, and a 6 foot water monitor will do some serious damage to a 4-year-old. Let's be real. I mean, it'll do serious damage to an adult.
Yeah.
So, but they literally test the cage and they pull on this wire mesh to the point where they create holes, and it's just like you were saying, the intelligence factor in these animals, and even looking at them, you're like, you can look at some of them like the big male bells. You look at them and you're like, you are a freaking velociraptor. Like you look like it. And like the scariest thing is again, what happens if I go out there and my son's out there with me and that big croc monitor's out? It's like
It would
that's
not be
game on.
good. It would
Yeah,
not be a good
that's game
time.
on. And I mean, we even have special. We have these special gloves that Chris got when he got the croc monitors.
The
That
Kevlar gloves.
yeah, the Kevlar gloves. And I'll tell you, they're worth every dollar they cost because I don't have fear going in and getting bit by that thing.
Do you use the
For,
gloves, Nick?
I mean, all the way up to here.
That's sweet.
I never. It's gonna sound crazy. I use gloves for one species, and that's it. And it's the black tree monitors.
Dude, no, I don't. They have some. They have some crazy claws. They got some gnarly stuff. I don't use
My
gloves
body
either, but
react well to their saliva either.
do
But
you?
my last black fight, it landed me in the hospital. My hand was a balloon, like that.
Oh my
No
And
way.
gosh,
yeah, it was eating away at my knuckle. I have
that's
like a
crazy.
half broken down knuckle now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got
I
when
had
I
no
got bit by
idea.
the green tree on my finger. My finger swelled up like 3 times the size, and I was in pain for like a week. It was not fun.
Well,
The
and
whole
I've heard
Taurus complex, their saliva is just the worst. I think them and the Indicus complex.
No,
for
100%.
sure.
Yeah.
now I've heard that that's the big thing with Celebensis. Is Celebensis has that saliva
Mhm.
that really messes with.
I think all monitors technically have it, but there's definitely some that have it a lot more, like have a lot more potent venom per se, or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it.
I have heard that the Celebensis compared to others in the Salvatore complex,
Mhm.
I've heard that theirs is just by far the worst as
Mhm.
well. Whereas the Macromaculatus has almost none. It's like no effect really.
What's it like working with Nucleus? Do y'all have a pair? I know.
Out of the pair, we have a giant male and then a little juvenile male we're trying to sell. But they're smart, man. It's like
That's my dream water monitor, like species right there. I want them and Kamini.
I'd say the Nucalus and the Coming Eye, they're very, very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar. The one thing that sets them apart is really the scalation on the back of the neck
Hmm.
and color.
Yeah.
Other than that, they act the same. They have the same habits.
Are
Everything
they about
like
the
that.
same size too? Because I know they're both smaller, right?
Yeah. The big male Coming Eye at the facility is right around 5 feet. The big male Nucalus is approaching 5 feet.
Okay.
Say
Oh, wow.
4 and 5.
Yeah, those look
Yeah,
good.
and
See,
they're both
see
max.
that's crazy because like I've heard that about Coming Guy, but the two adults that we had of the Sambawas, they were shy of 4 feet.
Oh wow.
Very small. Yeah.
Yeah, they were super small. And you want to talk about cool lizards? The Sambawas were awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they were probably the
Yeah.
cool, and it was just one of those things that trying to focus in on what we're trying to work on, like.
That's the
Okay,
hardest
Sambawas
thing.
are cool.
It's hard to
Dude.
pick one species, man. There's so many cool stuff, but you gotta pick like one or two species and just go in on them.
Yeah, and at this point we have the lace monitors, which are doing great. We have all the water monitors, which are doing phenomenally, and then we have the crocs. And I mean the Celebensis and the sulfurs, and then the xanthic. We have those, and then Chris got Emmett just a regular old what is it? The Gurus.
Gurus,
Is it,
Yeah. Big stuff.
Yeah.
they're small too.
He's
I've
got
heard.
one.
There's a few small species or subspecies.
Yeah, I think the Gurus stay smaller as well, if I'm not mistaken.
But it's just trying to focus on those things,
Mhm.
and really getting the breeding down on those. I mean, I'm sure once we figure everything out, once we have a little bit more room with the new building going up, and Chris can focus on stuff over at his place, I can focus on some new stuff here, and then we have the Spencer Eye, which
Those are
that's
really
gonna be that's gonna be real cool.
If-
Love the Spencer, man.
Dude,
What is-
you gotta see these Spencer Eye that we have. I mean, we got them from John and Dragna, and he came out here and he's like, "Dude, what are you feeding these things?" I said, "Quail eggs, quail, crickets, roaches." I mean, he's like, "These are 3 times the size of mine." and they're from the same clutch. Like, what are you doing? I'm like,
How big are they now?
the male is in a 4x2x2, and he's probably got about 8 inches left in there.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
How old?
and he's a year and a half.
Holy
Dude.
crap, man! That's
But-
nuts.
Yeah, like he's in like, and then the female's finally getting some size on her. She's at least 2.5 feet long now, but that male is a monster. So we have an open 6-foot PVC cage
hmm
that we're getting ready to clean out and move him into the 6-foot cage. And then once he outgrows the 6-foot cage, he's going into a 20 by 10 by 10.
Oh, that'll be perfect for him, man.
Yeah,
That's gonna be nuts.
What would your Nick, your ideal, like, unlimited space and budget, what would be the size enclosure you do for your croc monitors, and what would be the sex ratio you keep in there? Because I know like Reptilandia's got that huge, like, 36-foot tall, 60-foot long, 20-foot wide enclosure.
Oh my God, that huge artificial tree in there.
Yeah, that's insane. They got a 60-foot long river going through it. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I think they have a 2.1 in there.
Yeah.
Correct?
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
I
It's cool that the males get along and there's no issues with the two males that are in there.
Male croc monitors, I mean, in my experience, they don't have too much aggression towards each other.
Really?
Crocs are very social.
Huh.
Weirdly, everyone I've worked with,
Huh.
weirdly social.
That's cool.
and that makes sense because when our two are together, they're always together. Like they don't
They'll
really.
mask on each other. They'll
Yep.
hide together. The whole
That's
thing.
cool.
Yeah.
And now when they're apart, she kind of hides out. They're almost like the birds that we have. They do better when they're together, and when they're apart,
Oh.
yeah.
I'd say so for sure.
So what would that enclosure be?
Dream croc enclosure. 2.5. And it would be 80 feet by 80 feet by 100 feet. And I'd. You guys hear that?
No.
No,
Oh wait, I hear like a little something. Sounds like something got
What's it-
out.
That's my Patai's Carinata growling.
Oh wow. I
Sees
wanna-
his in the side of the enclosure, and he's in shed,
That's sweet.
and he's just growling at himself.
He's big
Anyway,
too, right?
oh.
He's a massive one. Your rat
Yeah,
snake?
12 feet.
That's crazy.
wait, what is it?
Patai's Carinata, greater keeled rat snake.
That's the
Longest-
largest rat snake species, right?
Yeah, longest colubrid in
He's-
the world.
He's 12 feet long.
12 feet long. Yes.
Jesus,
It's gonna be hard finding him a female because they're snake eaters too.
Yeah.
Dude,
Being that.
that's
Yeah.
the scariest thing about doing colubrids. It's like, how do you breed colubrids when?
I've heard it's usually the females that eat the males, though. Like, not that it's like the males won't eat the females, but usually like the females are the ones killing the males. So I feel like since he's so
Most
big,
of
it
the
might be a little bit
Might be
easier.
the other way around.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
like, because Chris's dad has some of those Western indigos, whatever the legal indigos are you can have,
There's
Yeah.
a few.
and he's got two. He's got a breeding pair of those.
That's cool.
But it's like, when do we pair them? Like, at what point does the male eat the female, or vice versa?
You got to pump
But
them with
The dry
food.
marcon, especially the dry marcon, are notorious for that.
Oh,
That
yeah.
whole genus.
That's a sweet genus of snakes right there.
Well, and I mean that's the whole reason why anyone should breed ball pythons is to just feed them to colubrids.
I do. The amount of ball python people that I know that just feed their snakes off. Like I know like a
My
couple
big
people that
guy
only do
eats-
it.
He eats frozen pythons once in a while.
That's the way to
Let's,
do
let's
it.
be real.
Ball
that is-
pythons.
That's an absolute joke. We have to joke on the ball python people, but I mean, I do know a lot of people that feed off ball pythons to cobras and
Mhm.
king snakes and all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I
It's,
buy stillborn ones that are like partially developed in the egg. Freeze them, thaw them out. He
Oh,
loves
yeah.
them.
I have a friend who like hits me up. He's like, "Yo, I need wholesale. If you have any like or know anyone getting rid of any ball pythons, let me know." He's like, "I got some king cobras I need to feed." I'm like, "All right, I'll send them your way."
So,
Oh man.
so Nick, you're not far away from there, but they usually do that big bass tournament down in Okeechobee, and
Yeah.
they used to sell rat snakes there for lure or for bait.
What?
And you
What,
could
like
go
a
buy
black rat?
red rats.
Oh, okay. Really?
What?
Yeah. They
That's
sell red
crazy.
rats as bait. Yeah,
Wow, I've never
It's-
heard of that
That's
before.
they're putting little rat snakes on a hook and tossing it in for the bass.
yeah. Oh,
Dude, that's insane.
That's
dude,
nuts.
have you guys never gone bass fishing down there?
Well, I mean,
Never.
I have like gone like bass fishing with like snake lures, but I've never like seen someone hook a
Oh.
live snake and throw it out there.
I haven't seen that either, but I have seen like my dad was friends with some serious rednecks, and they would eat bass. Like I've never eaten a largemouth bass. Oh, I guess
Tastes
I
good.
have.
It tastes
because-
good. I'll be the first to say it. Largemouth tastes pretty
But-
good.
But he caught one of my dad's friends caught this big largemouth bass, and he cut it open, and its belly was full of baby water moccasins.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Respect.
But you take one of those. I guess. I mean, somebody told me that that's what they do. They sell rat snakes for lures during that
That's wild.
that bass tournament down there.
I mean,
Which
that'll catch a big one, that's for sure.
oh,
I want to. All right, so I want to switch topics just a little bit because I know you both like this. I know y'all are into parrots a little bit. I know Nick, you have a parrot, right? Or you used to have parrots?
I have one parrot currently, and then I used to have a scarlet macaw.
What do
when
you
I
What
was
do you have
younger.
currently?
Mustache parakeet.
What is that?
A
I've never heard of
mustache
that.
Yeah, Siticula alexandri. It's like a close cousin of the ringneck.
Okay, yeah, I want an Indian ringneck really bad. Like I want one so
Those
bad.
things are so funny,
Dude.
man. They're
So-
so funny.
so speaking of parakeets, there was one parakeet that I found in the book because I grew up around large birds. My grandmother had 13 large macaws or large parrots. When I say they were all macaws because she had cockatoos as well.
That's crazy.
But in her book, there was a parakeet that looked just like a scarlet macaw. And I have no idea. A parakeet, yeah. He was. I mean, I don't know how big they were, but I mean, it was a parakeet, and it was red and had yellow wings and or that yellow in between the wings. And I was like, "What is this thing? I want one."
That's cool. So how
And-
long have y'all both been keeping birds? Because I know you both have
Oh.
a bunch of experience. I know Chris or Chad, you have some macaws now.
Yeah, I have a military and a harlequin now. My harlequin is a bit of a character, for lack of a better term. I'd rather deal with the big croc monitor than him. But the military's coming around. They're both rescues that we got. A lady was giving them away. I have no idea how old they were or how old they are. But what's impressive to me is I've always had a problem with my birds in the past of not eating colored pellets because they would find the color they like and they'd throw the rest of them out. These guys actually eat them all. I'm like, hey, that works. So I always used to use the oh god, it starts with an R. I can't think of the name of but it's a black bag with green lettering on it. Starts with an R, whatever. But it's a neutral colored pellet, so everything's all the same color. So that's what I would feed my macaws. But my family got our first macaw when I was in first grade. We got a blue and gold.
Oh wow!
You've been around these things forever. You've
Yeah,
been,
You grew up
and-
with them.
yeah. I mean, we got our blue and gold when I was in first grade. At that time, my grandmother had the brother to my blue and gold. His name was Andy. My blue and gold's name was Cha Cha. And then my grandmother went from kind of the parakeets and cockatiels, and then she started going into the bigger birds, getting the macaws.
Did she breed them
before
or
she-
just kept them?
No, she just kept them. Before she passed away, she had a rose-breasted cockatoo, a female eclectus, a Catalina macaw, 3 blue and gold macaws, a Moluccan cockatoo, a double yellow-headed Amazon, a um, she had an umbrella cockatoo, and one other one, I think.
Hmm.
And now my aunt has all those, so my aunt added that to her collection, which was a Harlequin macaw, which was the brother of my Harlequin macaw, a military macaw, a blue and gold macaw, a
So your family is like
African
all
gray.
about macaws.
It's and what was terrible about
So you're
going to my
not like, is
grandmother's
your
house?
aunt breeding them, or you're just keeping them?
No, she just keeps them.
That's
Like
crazy.
everybody keeps macaws. We thought about breeding Sarge, my aunt's military macaw, which was a female, to Andy, the blue and gold macaw, because Andy wouldn't go to anybody but myself, my cousin, and my sister. It's the only people he would ever go to. And so Andy wasn't even allowed in the aviary with all the other birds.
Oh wow.
Like he was in his own cage.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I think my grandmother did breed blue and golds for a little bit, and she ended up with some babies and ended up keeping one of the babies that had a deformed beak, and that was one of the blue and golds she kept. But we were trying to get some milligolds out of those. But she bought me my second macaw, which was the Harlequin macaw, when I was a freshman in high school. And talk about the ugliest animal ever as a baby macaw. I don't know if I don't know if you have ever hand fed a macaw, but it's like the most taxing thing ever. You have to feed it.
When did you have
every
your macaw, Nick?
I rescued her. Her name was Ruby, a scarlet macaw. I rescued her from this sanctuary up near where I lived that was just a hell for animals.
Is this in New York or when you moved
Yeah,
down
back
here?
in New York. I want to say freshman year of high school.
Oh wow.
Then I had her for a little bit, and then some people got called, and they ended up taking the bird back.
Oh damn, that sucks.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's still around. I should go back home,
That'd
see
be
if I
cool.
could get her back.
Bring her back down to Florida.
Yeah,
There's a lot of macaws down in the Miami area.
Yeah.
We'll just see them flying around.
And what's crazy is, like, I got my Harlequin macaw from a breeder down in Wesley Chapel, and we paid $850 for that bird. Now a Harlequin macaw is $4,000, $5,000. It's like, what?
At least.
Yeah. And it's like, now I have another Harlequin macaw. He's not near as friendly as mine that I grew up with.
Even croc monitors. They used to be dirt cheap back in the day too.
Yeah.
Like everything. Like my monkey tail skinks, you used to be able to give them away. Like people couldn't sell them because how often they were being imported, and now they're like $2,000 a piece.
So in 2005, I had the bright idea of, I want a new monitor species. I've kept Niles, I've kept Savannahs. I see this croc monitor. I want to get a croc monitor. And found a breeder. You don't even want to know what the price was on it at that point in time.
Like as in too high or too low?
$500.
No way.
That's
$500 for a croc monitor.
Captive bread?
No, it was white. It had to have been white. Yeah, $500. Nobody was
probably claiming
2005
it to be captive bred.
No, oh no, I mean I don't think the captive breeding of monitors was even a thing back then. I mean, nobody was doing.
Yeah, I think only a few people were really breeding back in the day.
At least in the States, I think John might have been doing it back then with the course, but I don't know back that time frame. But so I have the $500 sitting there. I'm like, I'm going to buy this thing, and a good buddy of mine who's actually from New Jersey, he was like, "Hey, do you have any idea what a crocodile monitor is?" And I'm like, yeah, they're like the world's longest lizard. Like, I want one. Like, why not have the world's longest? This is at the time where I was like, I'm getting the world's largest everything. I had a pixie frog that was probably, I mean, she was every bit of 10 pounds. Like, she was that big around, and she would eat large rats and just awesome. And I had a Goliath bird-eating tarantula. I had a Burmese python. Like, I had multiple Burmese pythons at that time. And I'm like, I want this. I want a croc monitor. He's like, just do your research on croc monitors. I was like, okay. And then I came across this website that talked about breeding croc monitors, this, that, and the other thing, and it just showed what happens between males and females, and it showed pictures of males with their tails ripped off, scars on their backs, and I'm like, what is this? And then I came across the skull of a croc monitor, and then I read something about croc monitors are the only other animals aside from a Tyrannosaurus Rex that have ever had scissor acting teeth. And I go, I'm not getting a croc monitor anymore.
What do you mean by scissor acting teeth? I have never heard of that before.
So if you look at the way that the teeth interlock on a croc monitor,
Mm-hmm.
actually kind of are curved towards the rear.
Mm-hmm.
So when they grab onto things and they grab through something, it actually shears it off.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
and since they're double edged, they're like double edged razors, and they interlock between each space.
Just kidding.
Once they close, they slice it straight down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, like
It's
that's what makes me like. How do you still have the tip of your finger? Like, how did you
Look,
not lose the tip of your finger,
Did a
dude?
good
Like,
job piecing it together. You'd never be able to tell.
was it like how mangled up was it? Because like it had
Not bad.
it really. 'Cause it looked
Three
crazy.
One slit it right down the middle there, so that chunk of meat was hanging off. Then two slid past the nail and sliced it that way. It
Ugh.
was just like 3 ribbons of skin and meat that had to get stitched back together.
It could have been a lot worse, dude. That's, you got lucky.
And
It could've
okay,
come off.
so think about it this way: you have this whole thing in your back of your head about a croc monitor, what it can do, and the teeth that it has, and all it does during its breeding cycles, and this, that, and the other. That you read back in 2005, so almost 20 years ago, right? And then you have this story of this large male croc monitor that got imported, and when it got imported, it broke out of the crate and was running around the airplane. Like, and you wonder why. You're like, hey, Chad, you need to video yourself in front of the croc monitor cage. No, I'm good. And it's like, wonder why I'm scared of this lizard. It's like, I mean, I know he can hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
I have the utmost respect for him. I think he's got the utmost respect for me. You feed me, you water me, you spray me down, you take care of me. Just don't touch me. And I have I'll feed you, I'll water you, I'll spray you down. Just don't bite me.
Yeah, it's just about respecting the
Yeah,
animals. To be honest with you.
Yeah. 100%. But once you really get up close with a croc monitor, even a highly defensive one, you see they never really want to hurt you. The last thing they'll do is bite.
Yeah.
They'll whip you, they'll run away from you. That's the last thing.
Like I want to come and visit and like I want to see Suki, bro. I want to interact with a croc monitor on that level. Like that is crazy.
For sure.
So how bad does it hurt to get whipped by a croc monitor?
Salvatore or worse.
Really?
Really?
Is it because they have a thicker tail?
Yeah, that shorter, thicker tail, there's more power behind it. These guys, I think somewhere in the length of the tail, the power just...
Yeah, like
you know.
the rhino iguana behind me, he's got another regrown tail, and his tail whips hurt way more than my mangrove monitors, or even my blue tail monitors.
Yeah, because all that strength is
Yeah,
just
it's all just like,
compact.
yeah, he's a beast.
The whipping isn't that bad. The claws are bad, though.
Oh,
Claws
are
do you trim their claws or anything, or put anything in their cage to keep them? Either of y'all?
No.
Nope.
No.
All they
I mean-
have are their branches to climb, and that's it.
What is
Well,
the black material we were talking about? Is that PVC or is that wood?
No, that's PVC.
Okay.
And then It's all screwed into a 2x4 frame.
Now, have you thought
Is
about
it?
adding anything to the walls to like let them be able to like, fully climb and access the walls, like
I
lattice
have
or
a ton
anything?
of natural cork bark that I've been meaning to put on there, but I
Yeah,
don't want to do like a quarter of the enclosure and then order more.
yeah.
It's gonna take a lot of cork to do that, so
Like
I'm
the
waiting
cork
on like
flats, like the big flat pieces.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
So I'm
perfect.
waiting on like 2 or 3 more shipments of that, and then I should have enough.
So one of the things we did in a different enclosure that we put our juvenile lace monitors in, we took um, oak, like live edge oak, and we lined the entire sides of that with the live edge oak, and
Oh,
it works. It works great. And to get live edge oak for us is a little bit easier. But I mean, you could probably go to a mill and see if they have live edge oak and get some of that stuff. I don't know if there's any mills near Deerfield Beach, but
I don't
uh,
think so, but honestly, for the amount I'd need, I'd make the drive to Alabama for it.
hey, come on up. You can show me some pointers on these croc monitors because trust me, I could use it.
yeah. Like,
Because I mean,
what pointers would both of y'all like give to somebody who wants to get into croc monitors and then eventually wants to plan on breeding? Like, how would you recommend like going captive born and bred, and like how would you recommend going about if someone new that wants to get into croc monitors? What advice would either of you give them?
I'll let
Personally,
yeah.
I'd say work your way up to that species first, because it's the ultimate species of lizard for a reason. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
What would you consider a good species to work with to train you for a croc monitor? I would say blue tails. Blue tails would be a pretty good one. They're mini croc
I
monitors,
think
but they're
yeah,
kind of
the
they're pretty expensive though.
blue tails and the tricolors, but that's because I didn't have to buy them to work with them. No, so honestly, I'd say like an indicus. You raise an indicus from baby to adulthood, a wild caught treated indicus,
Hmm.
you'll probably be ready for a croc.
Yeah, I
That
would
makes
Not
me
say
even
feel a lot better about myself. Maybe I should get a croc.
yeah.
I
I
want
mean,
one.
Indicus,
in you, man. I'm telling you.
I want one so bad.
Indicus, or even Quince monitors would be a good one.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
to
Quince
start
is
off
what
with.
the
I
whole
feel like
indicus.
anything in that Indicus complex would be,
Yeah.
Yeah,
besides maybe peach throats. I feel
yeah.
like
Hey, don't be knocking peach throats, okay?
hey, I
You know
love them,
that's
but
not
I
a
don't know
name
if
and
they're
I
gonna
like.
help you with a croc monitor.
Yeah, well,
And I'd say wild caught,
Wildcaught?
honestly.
Why would you say
Wild caught.
that? Just because it's easier to get?
Not even that. I've never worked with U.S. captive bred crocs, but I've worked with Indonesian captive bred,
Okay.
and I'll tell you, they do not care about you.
So they,
They do not care about you.
really.
They don't respect you. Absolutely nothing. Those are the crocs that will chase you from the opposite side of the enclosure to
so
come at you.
do you think it's because of how they're raised over in Indonesia? Because, like, for example, at the alligator farm, I don't know if have you ever heard of Gomek, either one of you guys? He was one of the largest crocodilians kept in captivity, and we had him at the St. Augustine alligator farm. He was like
Oh, I have
he was
heard.
like 18
Wait,
feet or something like
that
that.
was that was a salty, right?
Yeah, he was a salty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
he got
That
brought
was the one
over
you showed me
from
the video of. Yeah.
yeah. So he got brought over and he was captured because he was flipping like canoes and killing people. He was literally a man eater, and he got brought over to the states, and he was perfectly fine like with humans. Like you can go in there and he would eat like out of obviously a stick, but he was calm, very calm for a crocodile that's been killing humans its entire life. Whereas now Gomek is now passed, and we have Maximo, and he's about 16, 17 foot, and he was captive bred and raised at a crocodile farm over in Australia, him and his girlfriend. But you cannot enter that enclosure, dude. He is like he will gun it for you. So I've always like been like it's funny how someone that was one of them that was raised by humans hates humans, and the one that hated humans now likes humans. It's kind of interesting to
Yeah.
think about.
Well,
It's because
now,
you gotta think, ones that are born in captivity but never socialize, they never have that fear of people, but they also don't like people.
Hmm. That makes sense.
So they might see you as prey, they might see you as a threat to them, but they will never see you as something that could overpower them
Yeah.
unless you use force on them. A wild caught that's been picked out of the wild, it comes here, it has a fear of humans, and you could break that fear into a mutual respect and then turn that into a bond.
Now, how do you Like, what's some advice you would say to breaking that fear? that you could give if you even have any? Just spending time with
It's
it.
gonna sound dumb, but yeah, talking to them very gently.
Hmm.
They listen. I don't know what you're saying, but you talk gently to them. It's like it'll calm them down. Sometimes you spend a ton of time around them, home feed, close range,
Hmm. I've
while
always
like
said
in
tongue
between
feeding is one of
letting
the
them
best
smell
ways
you.
to build that bond.
Oh, for sure. As long as you're letting them smell you between
Yep.
the food items, so they know you're not food. You're giving them the food.
Hmm.
Let them drink water from a cup. The crocodile monitors love that. You give them a cup of water, they'll stick their face in there, start
Oh,
drinking.
that's cool.
Anything like that, close range, it'll break the fear.
That's crazy. That's cool.
Wait, you're telling me that I should fill up a cup with water and put it in front of that croc monitor's face and let him dunk his head in it?
Maybe not a croc monitor that broke out on an airplane. That might not be a little bit.
What about
um,
you, Chad? What advice would you give someone that wants to get into keeping croc monitors?
it's definitely. I was kind of thrust into keeping croc monitors. Not that it, you have to have the utmost respect for the animal.
Mm.
I think as long as you respect the animal and you know the animal's boundaries, that's where you save yourself. It's definitely not the species that you just go to a reptile show, see a croc monitor, and say, "I'm going to buy this."
Yeah.
Um, learn from a mistake I almost made. Don't do your research before buying an animal that can get supposedly up to 19 feet long. I mean, they're incredible species. They they watch you, like Nick was saying. They do that. They watch you as you walk through the building. Like it's almost eerie how they do what they do. They're incredible.
Hmm.
Um, but don't get bit. Don't don't try to force yourself on them because it can do long lasting damage.
Oh, they can I mean, if they got you in the right spot, they could kill you. Like I was
Lethal.
watching one of
Yeah.
your videos
Yeah.
last night, Nick, and it was you were bring I don't know if Suki or the male, but got him to come all the way up your chest. And like I've done that with my mangroves, but this is a full grown
Yeah.
croc monitor, and I looked at my girlfriend, I was like, if that were to bite him on the neck, he would be done. Like he would be done in a
That
heart.
was spooky.
Yeah, that was
That
wild.
was spooky. I could never do that with any croc other than her.
Yeah,
So
that takes some
Crocs should have
serious
done that.
balls right there, dude. Either of you considered? I know you both want. I don't know, Nick. Maybe you are doing bioactive, but I know Chad wants to do it like live plants with them. Like, have you considered doing that? Because I know with my mangroves, I couldn't do it because they would uproot every goddamn plant that I put in there, destroy it. But would you think it could be possible to do with croc monitors, or are they just too heavy bodied as well?
100% it's possible. It depends on how you design the enclosure. Because mine, it's still bioactive to this day.
Hmm.
Probably has 20,000 isopods in it. But all I have is pothos growing around the pond. I
Okay.
used to have like small trees in there, ground cover plants.
Hmm.
And it did great because they were able to climb on the branches above them.
Yeah.
So they would never try to climb them.
now,
But
what size pond do you have in there? Because I heard you said you had a pond in yours.
yeah, it's made of a 55-gallon HDX tub.
Okay.
Kind of rigged it up with a canister filter, put some cork around it.
The
There's some
canister filter
cichlids
gave you
in
some
there.
trouble.
Oh, so much trouble.
Do you have fish in there with them?
Yeah,
What
African
kind of fish?
cichlid.
Sweet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's probably a great food source. They're constantly breeding. Do you notice her going in there and eating from the pond?
No, she won't eat the fish.
Really?
It's weird. Hopefully, when they start breeding enough, that's free food for the baby
Mhm.
water monitor. So
That's crazy. And so we haven't talked about this, but the cohapping. What do you have? I know you have geckos. What kind of geckos do you have in there with them?
tokays. So I have a
Tokays?
couple different morphs and then some normals.
What kind of morphs?
Hope-
I used to be huge into tokays. I had a big group back in the day.
I have a granite,
Granted.
and a candy.
Oh,
then a
candy's
bunch-
one of my favorites, man.
Yeah.
That's a
and
good
then
morph.
a bunch of animals. So I'm hoping they'll start breeding, make some heads, and then eventually visuals will pop up.
So, do you have anything like for the like? How do you get away with having them with the crocodile monitors? Like, do you have anything set for the tokays, like little areas for them to hide, or just kind of they do fine with the monitors?
Um, they'll climb all over Suki at night.
Really?
She does not. She'll wake up, turn around, see it's a toke, and go right back to sleep.
Really?
But also, yeah, at the top of the enclosure, there's like a little 1 inch gap between the PVC in the front
Okay.
and so during the day they all squeeze in there and then they come running out at night.
That's cool.
So they obviously need a hide where they could get far away from the predator, but other than that, they're good.
During the
And Albert
daytime,
Jackson-
do they mess with each other, or are they just because they're hiding because they're?
Yeah, the tokes, they're strictly nocturnal, so I never see them during the day.
That's crazy.
There's also Jackson's chameleon in there.
Really?
I decided to put it in there out of pure curiosity. 3 weeks later, he'll bask on Suki's tail.
No
Use it
way.
like a vomit. She looks at them and she does not care.
That's cool. So, whoa, that's crazy. So how do you maintain keeping a chameleon in there?
Long feeding, spraying him down, and he does his thing.
Dude,
He's a trooper.
So,
cool.
so now why? Just add it. I mean, aside from the curiosity fact, why the tokay geckos in there, and why the chameleon?
The chameleon, that was pure curiosity after seeing how she reacted with the tokes.
Mm.
You know, I just wanted to see, okay, what would she do with a slower moving, less adapted to live with a larger predator lizard? She didn't care. But the tokes, they live in the same habitat in Indonesia.
But yeah, that makes
So
sense.
I figured such a large croc monitor with a gecko that's about that big, she wastes her time hunting them. They're nocturnal, she's diurnal, and also I could be breeding two things in the same habitat easily.
Yeah. And so
so you are breeding them in there.
Yeah. I don't pull eggs or anything. I let them do their thing. If I
You
see
don't need
babies
to.
running around.
No,
I
when
was
I
gonna
had
say,
my group of
because that
tokays,
enclosure,
they raise
it should be
the
fine.
babies.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm worried.
they'll fully like incubate the eggs themselves and raise the babies. You don't got to touch that shit. You just let them be.
Yeah.
They're protective over their kids as well. They'll get mad at you if you go and try to mess with the eggs or the babies
I'm
themselves.
pretty sure there's a nest like in the gap between one of the walls and the pond.
I bet.
Because whenever I'm in there doing maintenance, I'll hear
Oh, yeah.
like they're like screaming at me from in there.
Do
Chill
they
out.
call and stuff at night? Like, do you hear them calling?
Past few nights has been keeping me up. I think it's breeding season or something, man.
That's yeah. It's so I don't think people understand how loud it is until you actually hear it.
Oh, it's
Dude.
insane. And I feel like it vibrates the glass and just like amplifies it
It
throughout the room.
probably does.
Yeah, it's
So-
crazy.
I told you about the tokay gecko that runs around the building.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear that tokay gecko from my house.
How far away is it?
At least 200 feet
You hear them through the building.
through the
Through the
building
wall.
at my
Yeah.
house.
That's wild.
Not if I walk out. I mean, it's if I'm outside, but if I'm standing on my front porch, I can hear tokay, tokay. I'm like, Jesus. And this is why I don't have red-eyed tree frogs. As much as I'd love to have red-eyed tree frogs, I can't stand the noise.
Yeah.
Like I
Have a
couldn't
loud
do it.
call.
You
Yeah,
know,
they have a
my
super
gargoyle-
loud call.
My
Not as
gargoyle
loud as
electric
tokays
gecko,
though.
they don't do anything. But
They don't even need any heat.
walk around. They are awesome. Like that is the best. Like they're right behind me, and I'm not sweating or anything like that. It's great.
What are those?
These are gargoyle geckos. I got three of those.
Oh man.
Have you considered cohabiting any other species with Suki? Like you could consider a snake?
And I threw a black racer in there too.
And no issues is still in there?
No issues. He escaped a few times, so he has since moved on to a new home. But that worked out too.
That's what. So
The only other thing I would want to cohab with a croc monitor I'd want to pull a Reptilandia and do the sailfin dragon and croc monitor.
you got to do
collab.
some turtles
Wait,
eventually
what?
too.
Dude,
I would love a fly river turtle in there, man.
Hey,
I'm not gonna lie.
I know someone, aka you, that has some for sale.
Wait,
Yeah, I'm
you got fly
considering
river turtles?
Not him, but cold blooded, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh,
Yeah, Cold Blooded Shop has some.
So
I know.
do you
I know
also,
Billy Albright's got some too.
They're so sweet. I'll get them eventually. But do you also you sell on your own as well? You don't do just cold blooded sales. Like you do your own thing as well. That's what the living
Yeah.
attractions is.
Yeah, any animal I post up on Living Attractions as my personal animal I'm selling.
Okay.
But then, also once in a while, if I know someone who wants this from Cold Blooded Shop, I'll just make the sale for them.
Okay, that's what's up.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm so stoked to
Oh.
get this damn chameleon from y'all.
Dude, you're gonna love it.
Are they
is
look
that-
good?
Man.
You never told me that's where you're getting the chameleon from.
Yeah, I'm getting them from Cold Blooded.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I've waited 5 years for the species to get
Cold-blooded's the
imported
way,
in.
man.
As soon as I saw them for sale, I put down a deposit.
Dude, I still want to get some Egyptian giant Euros. The Egyptian Euromastics.
We have some for sale, actually.
Yes.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. I want a breeding trio of Euromastics in a bad way. And
I think we got two. I think we have a pair right now about that long, like 2 feet long.
oh God, how much are they?
DM me after this. We'll figure something out, man. I got you.
All right, I'll do that. I'll definitely do that because
Yeah, Euros are cool,
those-
dude. We saw one. Iguanaland has a huge, like, full grown. I've never seen a full grown one in person, and it was.
What
massive.
does Iguanaland not have, though?
That's a good point,
You know what I
Photo.
mean? I gotta see that place.
dude. It was awesome. Like they have 2 parentes. 2 parentes.
That's everyone.
They have the Varanus nebulosus, which is the clouded monitor. They're the only. So like I was there and I was talking to Joe, one of the employees, and he's like, "Yeah, this is the only one in the country." I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. That's badass." So then like I made a post on some Facebook group about like just rare animals in zoos, just to see like how many are like overseas, and everyone was like, "Yeah, that's actually the only one outside of its native range in Asia." I was like,
Are you
"Oh
serious?
shit! What? I didn't realize it was that
The
cool."
only member of its species outside of its native range.
Yeah,
That's insane.
it's wild.
that is an insane.
He's got
Flex right
he's
there.
got some insane stuff. Like he's got 2 parentes. He's working on getting Komodos. He just got his the permits and everything approved so he can get Fiji banded iguanas. Like dude, he's got.
How do you pull that off?
It's Thai parks, man. I don't know how he pulls this shit off.
So a funny thing is Ty actually reached out to us or reached out to Chris
Mm,
to buy a bunch of those ponds.
yeah. Is he gonna
And
do
it's
it?
like I don't know. I haven't heard anything else from it. But it's
Those
like
universal rock ponds?
Oh,
yeah.
dude, they got so many for
interesting.
sale.
you need some? I got some. Waterfalls, ponds.
They got like a 20-foot wall.
Yeah, I got a whole wall.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, shit's wild.
Yeah, man. Come up here, bring a trailer.
Yeah,
Got
we
you
all
with
definitely gotta go up to Alabama. I want to come see the croc monitors. I want to see what's so like at Cold. Like I just want to visit the breeding facility, but what's it like been like working for them and like with all the like especially recently ever since Ben started working there again. Like what's it been like dealing with all these high end imported animals? Not many people get to work with shit like that.
It's cool, man. It's really cool. Like, I'd be lying to you if I said I've gotten used to it. Like every single day I go into work, and it's the same thing. Like I'm just so excited to be there working with these animals. It's like, it's crazy.
What's like the
Like,
coolest thing he's brought like you've seen since working there?
You took my question, Gavin.
I don't know. You could put a Komodo dragon in front of me, I'll still say a croc monitor school. So,
I'm the
the
same way
crocs.
with my blue tails and tricolors. So
yeah.
So
man.
okay, so we take the croc monitors out. What is the coolest thing that you've got to mess with there?
it's a hard one.
That's a tough one.
What would be
I'm
like
gonna
the
have to say
the top few?
the Yucatan blacktail Cribos. It's a blacktail
Ooh.
Cribo, but brick red.
Those are sweet.
Wow.
Oh god, you brick red.
Do
Yeah,
y'all
the first
work?
time I saw it, I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yeah, that's how big are they? They full grown?
I think the largest male is probably sitting around 7 feet.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I like
Yeah.
there's a certain locale of yellowtail Cribo that's basically all yellow. I don't know. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I've seen those in
Yeah.
person actually. I'm
Of
not
course you
sure
have.
the exact
Of course, y'all
locality.
have got them in. Those things they're beautiful.
Yeah.
What about you, Chris? Because I know, or Chad, working with Chris, like, have you gotten to experience any sweet import stuff? Because I know he's used to do that pretty big.
He did used to do imports. He hasn't done any imports since I've been around. I mean, our main goals in the next couple of years is getting Murray's Menageries done, the wildlife sanctuary. I'm happy and I'm upset to talk to Nick tonight because I was supposed to go meet Luna, the new addition. That I'm gonna keep quiet, but it's definitely one of my dream animals. Like one of the few things that I would want to own that I don't own, but I'll get to play with. And you've seen her, you've seen, and she is awesome. And I'm just waiting for her to settle down. Just so I can.
It's a mammal. It's not. It's a mammal, not a reptile.
I just want to boop the snoot on that.
Do you have you ever worked with any mammals, Nick?
A couple. Not my cup of tea.
Yeah. They're scary, man. Like especially primates. I would never work with a primate.
No,
People say crop monitors are unpredictable.
No, I would take any reptile over any sort of primate.
Oh yeah.
So Chris has these 2 Eurasian lynx, and they're absolutely they're super awesome animals. One's named the male is named O'Malley, the female's named Duchess. Duchess scares the living hell out of me. Like she'll come up and her pupils are all super dilated, and she's just I'm like, oh my gosh, just don't eat me. And like I've pet the genets like through the cage. I don't go in there because they'll rip your finger off. Played with Bendy the bear cat. I can't say enough about how awesome Bendy is. Like,
yeah, it's sweet to work with a bear cat, dude. That's insane.
I wish she was a little bit more friendly. The serval cat, she's cool. But I'm really excited. Chris isn't going to get mad at me. I'm really excited to work with Luna the caracal.
Oh, dude.
Dude, like, so happy.
So sick, bro.
Like,
is he going to try and get a male? You know?
Yeah.
I guess eventually.
Yeah, well, she just came in last night. She's very angry right now. She's been in a crate. I was supposed to go over there today, ended up having to work late. I had the podcast stuff. I was going to help finish up the rest of the enclosures. I think Chris said he was putting her in the sloth enclosure today. Just so she had some room to run around. I don't know what he's gotten done. He's got a few people over there. The servals, both servals, because we got another serval. His name is Malik. So we have a male and female serval cat now. He's gorgeous.
Yeah, y'all work with some crazy mammals.
But the caracal, there's 2 animals mammal-wise that I would love to have that are exotic. The caracal was one of them. The other one is a warthog. I want warthogs in a bad way. But apparently a warthog will mess you up worse than a caracal will.
Oh, wow.
So
would have never expected that.
Dude, like, insane. The other thing that I thought about, and I think Chris has mentioned it, is I want a prehensile tail porcupine.
Yes, I used to work with them at the alligator farm. Those are some.
With those a couple of times. Those are the cutest.
They're so awesome.
Oh, and they're super sweet.
Yeah, their noses are the cutest, man.
Oh gosh, no. Well, have you messed with sloths yet?
I have. I've worked with a pair.
Yeah.
Dude,
that's kind of a flex that all 3 of us have worked with sloths.
There's no.
Where did you work with your sloths at, Nick?
You know who Justin Igualada is?
Oh yeah, I know Justin. I talk to him quite often on Instagram.
Yeah, that's my guy. That's my guy. He has a bunch of crazy mammals too.
I forget that Justin works with some crazy mammals. So that's who. I'm assuming that's how y'all are selling these crocodilians, then, or do y'all have permits at CBK?
No, not for those. Those are class 1. Okay. So those are all with Justin. Yeah.
Do you have like class 2 at? Is it Cold-Blooded Kingdom now or Cold-Blooded Shop?
No, Cold-Blooded Shop. Cold-Blooded Kingdom is still the storefront.
Okay.
That's sold.
So
yeah, we do technically have class 2, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure, but we don't keep any crocodilians there.
Do you keep any class 2 animals there, or just
No,
just
nope,
class
just
3?
all class 3. Yeah, for now at
Oh.
least, until we set it up, all the rooms are
Mhm.
done. Then
How
we
big?
might
How
move
big
some-
is the breeding facility?
huge? Huge. You walk in and it's 2 sides,
That's crazy.
like 2 separate facilities type thing.
Wow.
That's cool. Is it like one side like monitors, one side snakes?
One side baby monitors, chameleons, and turtles, and the other side is snakes and large monitors.
Now you gotta send me a list of what turtles you'll have available.
No
Besides
more
fly rovers.
turtles. No more turtles.
I have too many, man.
Unless you have a hingeback turtle, and then I'm totally down.
I have a
totally
friend
down.
selling some.
Dude, don't tell me these things. I'm supposed to buy your pink belly side necks. I think the hingeback turtles would be really cool to go into the bottom of the croc monitor enclosure.
That's
Because
cool.
I
I want
that'd
to
be
get
super
radiated for our Cyclora. Get some radiated tortoises in there with them.
I have 2.
Yeah, fuck you. I want radiated so bad.
2.
I think that would be a
And
cool
then-
cohab, though. Have you thought about doing tortoises with the croc monitors? Or do you just don't fuck
Have
with
my
tortoises like
I
that?
have my sulcata in there.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So, wait, so
I
you
have
got,
a
okay,
sulcata.
so with this croc monitor, you have toques, a chameleon, a black racer, and a sulcata?
Yes, and cichlids.
And cichlid. That's wild. And there's no
Only.
issues at all.
Only.
Like with any
Up
of them?
next, dumpy tree frogs.
What kind of tree frogs?
Dumpies. The
Dumpies.
Australian green trees.
That'd be
Yeah.
sweet.
'Cause those are also in Indonesia, Papua New Guinea,
Yeah.
I believe.
Dumpy tree frogs. Those are fun.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's just wild that they're all like it's a big enclosure, and as long as they all get their own microclimates, I guess it works.
Yeah,
That's really
fun.
all that matters is them getting their microclimates
Mhm.
because Suki's not going to hunt any of them.
Oh hell
It's
no!
not birding them. She doesn't want to eat it.
So how do you control like the different basking areas for like not let's say the Jackson's chameleons, because Jackson's chameleons are more of a cooler species, but you have the 135 basking. So is it on the other side of the enclosure most of the time, or how does that work?
Yeah, usually he's around here, which is the cool side.
Okay.
That UVB bulb that's usually on, but it was blinding the camera, so I plugged it. But and then that's the super hot basking spot for
Okay.
Suki right there.
And is that
So
3 separate lights you
Yes.
have? Like what is your lighting system? Like what kind of wattage and
Yes.
everything?
That's 3 separate lights.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the fact that they banned halogens, dude. Because I hate using these heating incandescent
It's
bulbs.
so stupid that
I-
they ban them.
I
And
might
these are
have
so
I might have
sketchy.
found a website that sells them because I have floodlights
DM it
at
to
the
me,
house
dude.
right now.
Yeah, I need that
I
too.
need
I have about 200 floodlights at the house right now.
Yeah, that's what we need.
You just made every monitor person jealous with that.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big flex. Just a big flex. It's going to cost everybody something to get that website.
I
Don't
hate that
ruin
they
it for
ban
me.
them though. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Well, I feel bad for Kai because I think he can actually get in trouble for getting them.
Yeah.
Like in California, it's like illegal.
Like
Really?
they're really enforcing it.
Yeah,
That's crazy. I can't see them, at least here in Florida, enforcing that law.
But what's crazy is as long as it's branded for a reptile, you can
It's
have.
okay. Yeah. Or even
Yeah.
like chickens, or as long as it's animal branded.
So Nick, just out of curiosity's sake, just because I want to see what brand of reptile bulbs do you use?
You went mute.
I don't want.
Oh.
I don't want to kill any chances at a sponsorship eventually.
Just out of curiosity, which brand do you use?
Right now, I have Azilla, Zoomed, Pangea. No, all kidding aside, I prefer Zoomed.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Except for the UVB Arcadia, I have to say.
See, I
Work
use
wonders.
Zoomed for pretty much all of my stuff. I have there's this company called Reptile Systems. They're based in the UK, or somewhere over in Europe, whatever. They're my favorite UVB lights. They're pretty much very similar to Arcadia. I just they're a little bit cheaper and in my opinion just as good.
Just say-
but they're just hard.
just say
You
they're
just
not
can't
Arcadia.
find them. There's no one that really sells them because they're not a U.S. company.
Just
So
say
how
it.
do you get them?
It's because they're not Arcadia.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Arcadia. No offense, but I will take a sponsorship from Arcadia. I'm gonna cut this part out because I don't want to get not a sponsorship deal. but
How do you get
so
the
there
reptile?
Reptile Systems is what it's called.
Reptile
There's a
systems.
couple like wholesalers. So have you heard of Central Pets? I'm assuming you have.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Of
so you can
course.
buy them off Central.
Okay.
Oh
And
wow.
so when I used to work at the reptile store, that's who we like basically got all our hard goods from. And so we just order those in for our store. We stock our store with
Well,
those. And so I
well,
just
you
buy
should be
them
able to.
bitches.
You should be able to get them at your work then too.
Yeah, we may
Yeah.
be able to.
Yeah, because you guys work with Central. Because you guys have KT. You have to have Central
Yeah.
if you have KT.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Call me weird. Call me old fashioned. Call me old school. Just call me old. I don't care. Um, I really hate the debate about the linear fluorescent versus compact fluorescent. Fluorescent bulbs are fluorescent bulbs. Light wavelengths are light wavelengths. That's just how it works. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
going scientific in the whole thing. I use coil fluorescence for a lot of my stuff because, for one, I'll go here. I have domes.
I think it's all about the reflector that you use. That seems to be the
Yeah,
most important thing.
I mean, you definitely have to use reflectors. You definitely have to change them out more often. But I mean, the old Exoterra stuff, they had issues with them, and I think that's where the problem lies. Is the old Exoterra, they had a big problem with them. They were burnt. They weren't to the spectrum they needed to be. So the coil fluorescents aren't the best, but the linear, or not the linear, the compact fluorescents that have the two tubes that go around
Hmm.
are just as good. And then if I really wanted to, on a large crop monitor enclosure, a larger enclosure, if I have a 48-inch strip light and it's not perfectly over their basking area or whatever, they're not getting the full UV usage of it.
Hmm.
So if I take 2 or 3 UV bulbs and hang them at different heights, different lengths, I can put different UV bulbs in that with reflectors, and I can get a better UV spectrum for my reptile where they're at.
Hmm.
Not to mention with my plants and all that stuff, the plants are going to cause shade, and you're still going to get that UV
Yeah.
through there. So, I mean, I used them on my Ackies. I use them with the bearded dragons we have out in the building. I use them with my tortoises. They work great. They do a good job, and you really can place them in a lot, and
It's
it's
cheaper.
cheaper. It
Yeah.
it is vastly cheaper.
I mean, so long as
it's
you're getting the
an-
right UVB readings, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter what the hell you use.
as long as you are using UV and using UV appropriately,
You're fine.
it's
Yeah.
not. It shouldn't be an issue. And
I was not gonna look up and be like, "Oh, damn, that's a compact." bulb."
Yeah,
exactly,
exactly.
exactly. And it's funny because you even look at everybody. Everybody praises Arcadia, which Arcadia makes a great product.
The
I'm a
luminized
firm
shit
believer.
is really dope. Like the new one they just did where that shit's elite. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna
Well-
talk shit about that one. That's dope.
Well, it's like that ceramic heat emitter, which Gavin, I
Yeah.
don't know that you've gotten any, but you need to get some
I need to.
because
I
the way
I
it
want to
produces
get. I don't know if I just want to get radiant heat panels at that point.
no, but it
Panels work
produces.
great.
What brand
The
do y'all use any? Like what brand would you recommend?
I use radiant heat panels only for the poultry that we have.
Hmm.
That's
Like during the winter and all that.
no. I use radiant heat panels for like when we hatch out quail.
Oh, okay.
I use that instead of the red light because the red light damages eyes.
Hmm.
I don't want to
Yeah.
damage any eyes, so red light or a radiant heat panel works great. But they make one that actually goes into a PVC enclosure for tortoises and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I think Reptizoo makes it,
Okay.
and it's a great product. But at the same time, you got to think back when I started when I had my iguana for the first time back in the early '90s. Heat rods were a thing, right? Heat pads on the bottom of cages were a thing.
Hmm.
Nobody put thermostats in them or anything like that, and you hear all these horror stories about things getting burnt, which is why I think that as long as you have a thermostat on something, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that deep heat projector works is you have a rock underneath it or anything like that, and it penetrates deep down in the rock. So it actually penetrates heat down just like the sun would do.
That makes sense.
So
learning
how
radiant heat panel or the deep heat projector?
The deep heat projector.
Okay.
So realistically, the deep heat projector, it puts off no light or very minimal light.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to keep you up at night. So if you need to raise heat in the enclosure at night, a deep heat projector just plugged in is fine. It'll raise the temperature in the area, and it doesn't really burn electricity like a ceramic heat emitter would.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a phenomenal product, and I still use them. I use them in pretty much everything that I have. I mean, on my tortoise enclosure, I put it on a thermostat because it does get too hot because he's in a PVC enclosure. But I mean, that really does a great job at even for basking because they can absorb that heat from their stomach.
Yeah.
It helps them digest and all that stuff, and then when the rock gets cold, they move off of it. Or I mean, I still use a par 38 flood bulb and stuff.
So what about you, Nick? Do you use any like radiant heat panels for anything, or do they over at Cold Blooded, or do you have any experience with them?
Not currently. We use those heat projectors.
Okay.
Yeah, we use some of those for certain like desert species through the night, but other than that, the facility stays warm enough through the night.
Okay, so what what lighting are you guys running over there? Is it like different for each cage, obviously, but like what brand? Is it the same brand?
All different brands.
All different brands.
All different brands and all different lighting setups dependent on the individual species.
Yeah. I always tell people, man, just as long as you're getting the UVB readings you need in the proper heat spot, it doesn't matter what brand or what item you're using to get it.
Yeah, and let's be real. When it comes to UVB, the UV meters, they're so expensive. Unless you are really, really concerned about it, the UV bulbs today, they are what they say they are on the bulb. As long as you're keeping the distance and know what you have enclosure wise, get the right UVB bulb for what your enclosure is, because it will produce the appropriate amount of UVB. You don't have to worry about the UVC as much in it. And realistically, we all know that there are monitor keepers out there that don't use UVB, but at the same time, that UV really does help when it comes to breeding. It helps with really everything involved. Just putting D3 on stuff doesn't really do the same thing that UV does.
Yeah, I want to bring that up too. Like, are you guys supplementing for your croc monitors, and how often are you? If you are, how often are you doing that, and what kind of supplements are you using? We'll go with Nick.
So I don't supplement her unless I'm giving her chicks.
Okay.
Just because chicks, a lot of people don't realize it's pretty much just like a bag of yolk. Baby chicken, the bones are super soft and not fully calcified yet, so I dust those in calcium.
Okay.
And once in a while she's towards the end of her cycle, I'll like mix up in like an empty water bottle, calcium, water, and multivitamin. Shake it up, get it in the biggest syringe I can, and I'll inject it in a rat once a week just to make sure she's getting all the calcium, all the vitamins. It's probably not even necessary, but it.
And you're only doing that when they're cycling, like injecting.
Yeah.
Okay, and so are you just not?
I notice an issue with the animal. Usually not with the crop.
So now, Nick, you only feed baby chicks. You don't feed quail or anything like that.
No, I feed mostly quail.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think the quail are the best feeder.
Oh, I agree. I'll agree with that.
Great full diet.
I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, quail are probably the best. I mean, all in all, if you're wanting to produce anything, like even if you're eating things yourself, quail are by far the best thing to keep on a homestead of any kind of, because you can keep them in a small. I mean, I think it's like 1 square foot per 5 quail or something like that. It's just insane how much space they don't need. I mean, we have a 4-tier rack, and the 4-tier rack has 1 male and 6 females in each tier, and we'll get 50. I mean, lately they've been down because we haven't had as much light on them, but we'll get 50 plus eggs a week out of quail.
Holy crap!
And I mean, when we turn them around, we're getting a 60 to 70% hatch rate on them.
Well, dude, my man Dante down in Miami, I'm assuming you know him, Nick, bro. He's producing, what, like 50, 80,000 quail a week? Or a month, I should say. It's maybe a week. Who knows? He's got some...
It's nationwide, too.
Yeah, dude.
That's who I get my quail from.
Yeah, dude, he's the best man right there for feeders. He just posted something like 80,000 pinky mice available. I was like, God damn.
Yeah.
He's going insane.
And we supplement our quail with quail from Cold Blooded Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Chris knows Chris Foley. So Chris knows Chris. And with the amount we buy, I mean, we buy probably 3 or 4 boxes of quail a month.
God
damn. So we do a lot in quail, and we feed them to everything. The quail get fed to snakes. They get fed. I mean, the boas eat them.
Yeah. So are you supplementing your croc monitors or any of your monitors?
No, we don't supplement anything because having the high density protein that you get out of the quail, plus all the feathers and whatnot, you are getting a lot more of the calcium.
Interesting.
And things like that. But the other thing when it comes to calcium, what I do for calcium is you take and you boil your chicken eggs, because we all eat eggs. I mean, for the most part, we eat eggs. So you take those eggs and you save them. You boil them to kill or to get everything off of them, and then you take the chicken eggs and you put them in a coffee grinder, and you emulsify them into a calcium powder, and you put those out. Now, my isopods and my tortoises, I give them Cuttlebone.
Yeah, Cuttlebone's the move.
And they eat that up. But like, I mean, with anything, as long as you're feeding the whole gut loading thing, it's real. You don't. I mean, when it comes to our crickets, we don't feed our crickets.
I supplement
every
all
day.
my monitors, even though I feed whole prey items. See, I was told, like, as I was talking to Kai Fan about the mangroves, because he's probably the best person to talk to him about mangroves, and he was telling me he supplements all of his, even though they're all whole prey items, and so I just followed what he does, and obviously there's not really a problem with supplementing or not supplementing. It seems like
the hard thing the thing that I worry about though is if you hear all these things about calcium binding and things like that. So if you're feeding whole prey items, whether it's quail, chickens, rats, pigs, realistically in the wild, they're eating these things.
Yeah.
And they're eating
not
whole
seasoning
prey
their food with calcium.
So, they're not dusting them with calcium. So if you put too much calcium on, do you run a problem? And I
would say yes.
I've had a bearded dragon that had calcium problems.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say bearded would be the example I can think of. I know a bunch of bearded dragons, especially when I worked at the reptile store. Like, obviously you see a shit ton of stuff with NBD, but there's been a good amount of cases of too much calcium being fed. It's
those like calcium tumors.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, you have all these things that you're feeding, and as long as you're feeding I know where 25% of my quail come from that we feed.
Yeah.
I know where 25% come from because I feed them. I know what food I'm feeding them. I know what they're going through. I know what they get dealt with or what they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So I know to an extent, I kind of know every ounce of everything that goes into my animals. Right? It's like when we go to the store, when you get a steak from Walmart, the steak from Walmart's not as good as the steak from Whole Foods.
Yeah.
It's just not. I mean, it's about that's about as simple as I can make it, because when we eat stuff, we don't go out. I mean, I can't speak for everybody. We don't go out and hunt for our own food for the most part. So we don't know what our food eats when we
Yeah,
do
I
it.
gut load all my all of our
Yeah,
crickets and roaches, and when I had grasshoppers, I was gut loading them too, just because
yeah,
the beardies, like, because my girlfriend has 12 bearded dragons, and that's how we breed them. So like they love the gut loaded. You can
yeah.
totally tell the difference of, like, they look better. They're chunkier, they're more
Mhm.
active. It's a lot different than just going to the store, getting crickets, and immediately feeding them off. It's not. It's
Right.
way healthier.
And I mean, we've all gone through that time where it's like, shit, I'm out of something,
Hmm.
and you have to feed them. Um, but I mean, the difference is like my geckos. I feed them. I can't reach the food right now, but I
Rapashi.
feed them. I feed them rapashi. What's in the rapashi? I don't know, but it's supposed to be a fully balanced diet. And you mix it up. You put it in a
Mm.
squirt tube, and you squirt it in there every day. And then I give them crickets. Um, Apparently, they also like hard boiled eggs. I haven't done that yet, but
Geckos?
yeah. Oh yeah.
I've never heard of that. That's crazy.
So
I know
Chris's
my
dad.
monitors love eggs. Like my
Yeah.
mangroves will fuck up some scrambled eggs. They
So
love that.
Chris's dad has some Mount Kogus lychees,
Hmm.
and he feeds them hard boiled eggs.
That's wild.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and they love it. And he was like, I wonder what would happen if the Australian water dragon eats hard boiled eggs.
Probably good and
And
stuff.
loves it, like absolutely loves it.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, I mean, and that's like the quail eggs. I know Jeff Easter.
Hmm.
He feeds quails to everything. I mean, you look
Quail's
at
one of the
Ackie
best
monitors.
feeders out there, if not the best feeder.
Well, Ackie monitors are typically. I mean, their diet, with the exception of greens, is very much they're insectivores.
Hmm.
So when you start doing your research on Ackies, it's like you don't feed them whole prey items unless they're breeding and things like that. And but they love the quail. They love quail eggs. They love, like, if you crack a quail egg, like you pull a quail egg out of the bin, and you crack one and you give it to something, they lap it up. I mean, and I say I don't supplement the monitors, but I do. I feed them. I feed them whole eggs.
Yeah, that's based
I
on
mean,
the calcium powder.
like any of the quail eggs that don't hatch, we have a bag, and we put them in the freezer, and then we thaw them out, and we feed them to the all the animals.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, all the animals get them, and and they love them. I mean, the sulfurs, they'll do it. I mean, if I have a big tub of them for whatever reason, or
Hmm.
leftovers that nobody wants to eat, I'll give them to the big bells, and he'll sit there with a whole tray of eggs and eat all the eggs out of it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, or if you get slugs, right?
Would you
What do
all
you do
would you
with
all say
slugs?
that would be like, if like your croc monitors, obviously they're each different. So like, what is y'all's croc monitors' favorite food prey items that you feed them?
Mine are. I mean, they love the quail.
The quail.
They love quail. Yeah.
What about you, Nick?
Thing. Suki is more of a ex breeder, like extra large mouse kind of girl.
Oh hell yeah! So do you
take-
feed rats when you feed rodents, or are you feeding mice or ASFs?
I cycle through.
Okay,
I cycle through so that, constant variety. But when I tell you, she will chase those extra large mice quicker than anything else.
that's all. So you're feeding them live?
No.
Oh,
But
okay, okay. It's
feed her
on.
and I have her chase me for them. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, man. Well,
Yeah.
was there anything else you wanted to talk about or promote on while you're on the podcast here? And we'll probably call it here soon because we've been going for like 2 hours. Obviously,
Yeah,
we'll
we
put
really
your
love
social
to try.
medias. Go ahead, check you out on Living Attractions. But
Yeah, man. Living Attractions on YouTube, Living Attractions on Instagram. Cold Blooded Shop.
oh yeah,
Shout out to Dante, Superior Reptiles. And that's about it.
yeah, man. Thank you for coming on. We're definitely gonna have to bring you back on eventually, especially once you get
Yeah,
some baby
absolutely.
croc monitors.
You guys.
Yeah,
And,
man.
and yeah, definitely when you get the croc monitors, and definitely to talk about some of your other projects you got going on too.
For sure.
Definitely, man.
Sure. I'd love to be back, man.
Thank you
I
so much for
appreciate
coming on, bro.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It was great having you on. I appreciate it, and let us know when those crop monitors hatch, and I'll shoot you a DM about those Euros.
I got you. I'll keep you guys updated.
Oh yeah, man.
All
All
right,
right,
brother.
bro. Well, we'll talk to you later. You have a good one.
Have a good night, guys.
Yep, you too.
All right, man. See you.
All right, guys. That's going to conclude episode 3 of the podcast. Thank you
Thanks.
guys for tuning in. Y'all been asking for longer episodes, so we went all in depth about hopefully like 2-hour podcast, just all about croc monitors.
Yeah, and hopefully I didn't talk too much.
No, you're good. No, I think it was a good episode.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I mean, more than I knew before about croc monitors, and I'm definitely going to take some of that stuff to the table and try to change some things around.
It's crazy that he's cohabbing those species. A chameleon with a croc monitor?
Bro,
Why?
Like I can't think of.
That's insane.
I mean, but it kind of makes sense because my croc monitor doesn't really go after anything.
Yeah, I guess it's just so used to being fed the proper food, it's not going to waste its energy on something that small. It'd rather wait till you bring it a quail or a rodent or something.
Yeah, I mean, I figured they'd have more of a predatory drive than that to go after something like that. But I mean, I mean, with Suki, she likes what she likes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's cool. That's crazy, man. Yeah,
it's totally crazy, but it's definitely awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me a lot to think about with the stuff we have here.
Yeah.
But definitely excited to put some of this stuff into motion and try to get some croc monitors of myself, because it would be cool to be number five on that list.
So probably number 6, because Nick I guess would be number 5.
Yeah, I guess it would be number 6. So,
but, yeah, man, y'all go ahead, follow us on the socials. They're going to be right down below. Go check out Nick. Go show him some love. If you're looking for captive born and bred croc monitors, he'll probably have some for sale in 8 months or whatever it takes for them to hatch.
Early 2025. Bring out 2025 with a bang with those croc monitors.
Oh yeah.
If you need feeders, get with Dante at Superior Reptiles
or
Cold Blooded Cafe.
Yep.
But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate all the support, and like and follow, and we'll get you next week.
Yeah, peace out, guys. We'll see you next week.
All right, have a good one.
See ya.